one of the greatest voices in college football history. Loran?
Well, it's great to have Keith Jackson with us today, a longtime face and voice of college football, now in retirement at his home in Sherman Oaks, California. Keith, it's good to talk to you always. A lot of changes going on in college football, and that seems to be the case every year. This year, a lot of the news emphasis has to do with the changing scene with the conferences. The Pac-10 is now 12 teams. The Big Ten is 12. The Big 12 is now 10 teams. Is all of this conference realignment and changing good for the game?
It's an eventuation toward a playoff system. Somewhere in a deep, dark room, there's a thick-necked fellow orchestrating all of this, and 10 years they'll have a playoff.
Well, are you for a playoff?
Oh, I don't. At this point in my life, I'm not going to worry about it. But I'm half kidding on that. I don't think there is a deep, dark room someplace where there are planners plotting. But it all has to do with money. And I'm not sure it's just money driving the bus anymore. I think greed has gotten aboard as well. And when they came with the alliance, that all started several years ago when I was still at ABC, and then they eventually went to this next thing, and then the BCS came into being. And each time a move was made in that direction, more dollars were available for the schools and conferences and so forth, and bowl promoters too. So it all adds up to they're just looking to make as much money as they can.
Well, the money is important to our colleges for more reasons than just football. A lot of other sports benefit from it. But we're paying an awful lot of high salaries to coaches now, and a lot of other things that some people say is going to spoil the game or even kill it. What do you say? It
could happen. At least it will change the face of it, and it won't be what we've known. You and I have lived in the golden years. You know that. I mean, life couldn't have been better for those of us who are teetering between 70 and 90. But it's a difficult thing. I think probably the third most difficult job in the country right now is being the president of a major university, because you're pulled, pushed, and tugged from every possible corner of your domain, and they don't want to be put in a position where they lose their posture as an academician and become the entrepreneur or a CEO, if you will, of a major financial institution. But that's almost where they are.
You were in college football for so long. You did other sports and television, too. What do you miss about not being in the booth on Saturday afternoon?
Well, I miss the people that I got a chance to work with. I had some great people that I spent time with during the 54 years I did it. And I grew quite weary of the travel, and actually that's what stopped me. It became so difficult, but traveling wore me out.
Well, you're now Dr. Jackson. Whittier College gave you an honorary doctorate back in the spring at graduation. Are you getting any special privileges with that new title?
No.
You still have to take out the trash.
And I do, and I had to pay for my own room, so there you go.
3 things about you that folks may consider little known. You're from Rootville, Georgia, in Carroll County. You were the first play-by-play announcer for Monday Night Football, and you once helped Walter Cronkite cover a Republican National Convention. What else is little known about Georgian Keith Jackson?
Well, actually, I spent more time in Tyus than I did in Rootville. I rode a horse over the hill to Rootville High School when the weather was good. But I was deep down yonder country. Still am, I guess, in many ways. But I left there in 1946, and I really never went back. I went back to see what remained of my family, and eventually that was gone pretty much, and I haven't been back in a long time. Because I settled in the West, found a Norwegian beauty under the willow trees at the Pullman Washington Golf Course at Washington State College, and I never thought about leaving after that.
Well, it's good to talk to you, Keith. Nice to have you with us, and you know, I think, without us saying it, you'll always be welcome at Georgia. We consider you home folks and hope you will come back to see us sometime soon. And now we go back over to Neil Williamson.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Great to hear Keith Jackson on our radio station here. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show. And Georgia fans, G Extra is changing our name to GTV. GTV is the new home for the most online audio-video coverage of your favorite Bulldog sports. GTV brings you live game coverage, plus features and highlights. Log on to georgiadogs.com/all access. With GTV, you're a fan no matter where you live. Eric Zier is standing by. We're going to take a look back at last year and hear a couple of highlights and then talk to him about the quarterback situation for Georgia and a whole lot more as we get ready to kick off the 2010 season. It's the Dogs and the Raging Cajuns going at it at 12:21. This is Georgia football from ISP.
ISP's pregame radio coverage stays connected with AT&T's highlights of the Bulldogs' last game. AT&T, rethink possible.
Before we get to those highlights, let's pause for station identification. This is Georgia football from ISP. Each week during the season, we'll recap the previous Saturday's game with Scott Howard's highlights and Eric Zier's analysis, sponsored by AT&T. We had no game last week, but we do have a fun little highlight clip from 2010. Crank it up and stay with us because we'll be right back after this highlight reel with Eric Zier.
Throws in, caught, touchdown, Michael Moore over the middle. Heading to the near side, he's going to go. That's Boykin, kiss him goodbye. He's going to score right now. Touchdown. Wide open touchdown, Aaron White. And intercepted at the 10. Big hole, 30, 35, 40. Caleb running behind blockers, 50, 40, 30. Go, Caleb, 15, 10, 5. Yes, sir, touchdown. Boy, we run that play a lot this year, and it always works.
Oh, man, I'm ready to go hit somebody right now. How about you, Z?
It is exciting. You know, you wait all year long for this day, and all the fans are starting to gather around now for the dog walk. It's almost time.
Where Sunsplash, the red and black is everywhere as people are getting geared up. The Georgia Redcoat Marching Band is getting after it as well, and the team is about to make their way into the west entrance of Sanford Stadium. Of course, we'll let you know when they start coming through. Eric, we will discuss the Bulldogs in a lot of different ways throughout the tailgate show today, but right now, no two-a-days this past summer. Yeah, it's a change in philosophy, and is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It is. You know, it's never anything that I ever went through. When I was playing ball, we always had two-a-days. It was always a pretty tough camp, whether it be in college or at the pro level. And so changing up that mindset and that philosophy, I think it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to keep the team fresh. Past couple of years, we've really been plagued by injuries. Maybe that's because of how difficult the start of the season is. So easing up there a little bit. But the other thing it does is it allows you a lot more time in the classroom to study and to get a feel mentally for what you need to do on the field. With the new 3-4 defense coming in, that's going to help a lot. I'm sure that played some of the decision along with trying to keep people fresh and get everybody on the field as opposed to in the IR room.
Well, the same with the new freshman quarterback coming in, giving him a little more study time as well. Are we going to see more passing to running backs this year? And the reason I really ask that is with a redshirt freshman, and then a backup is a true freshman. Is that safer for a quarterback?
Well, it is, but I think the big reason that we will see that, and I do think we'll see the running backs involved more in the passing game. I think we'll see the tight ends involved quite a bit in the passing game through some things like play action for a couple of reasons. You've got young quarterbacks right now. Aaron Murray in his first year playing. His backups are all young guys. You want to establish a running game. Coming off of that, you want to use play action, get your tight ends and running backs in the game. But the other reason is you've got a guy by the name of A.J. Green sitting out there on the outside. You're going to see a lot of roll coverage, a lot of bracketed coverage over to A.J. trying to take him out of the game. You get defenses out of that when you exploit the middle of the field, which will be open, and you can do that with tight ends and with your running backs.
What are we going to do with all these tight ends? We've got 4 guys who can play who have caught passes.
Boy, we've got a bunch of them. I expect to see some 2 tight ends set and rotate these guys in and out. Their skill sets, a few of them do a few different things. But when you've got guys like Orson Charles is the one playmaker in the group that really stands out all the time, you want to get him in the game and get him involved as much as you can. But I'm sure we'll see multiple sets with more than one tight end in the game.
All right, Eric Zier, thank you very much, and I see you chowing down over there.
Oh, you know what? I am chowing down, and it is the start of the season, which means it is time for Gordo's. And as always, I'm enjoying the Gordo's authentic Mexican restaurant-style cheese dip. It's available at your local retailer, and it is great.
And it is great. Thank you, Eric Zier. We have a new athletics director at the University of Georgia. His name is Greg McGarity, an Athens native, a great friend who rejoins us after 18 years on sabbatical or wandering in the desert, or I'm not sure exactly what he was doing. I'm kidding around. Greg's a great guy, and our own Charlie Mack Alexander will get together with Greg McGarity next. This is Georgia football from ISP.
The Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show continues with this Bulldog Point of Pride. Presented by Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, and Technicians Local Union 72. We believe in our people. For the 411 on the University of Georgia, here's Steve Bell.
Hey, Bulldog fans, your University of Georgia students get better each year. This year's 6,100 new undergraduate students for this fall semester have a strong grade point average of 3.83 with an average SAT score of 1876 out of 2,400 points. This year, UGA had almost 18,000 applications. That's one of the highest totals ever recorded at UGA. And that's another Bulldog Point of Pride.
Our old buddy Steve Bell joining us again. Geez, he's been on the broadcast, I think, as long as we have, Scott Howard. 18 years for Scott and yours truly, Hondo down at the Tailgate Show. Hey, go to GeorgiaDogs.com and register to win Ackerman Security Systems Georgia Bulldog VIP of the game. That includes a visit to the broadcast booth, an autograph football, and much more. That's Ackerman Security Systems, Georgia Bulldog VIP of the game. Go to GeorgiaDogs.com to register. Time now for us to throw it to Charlie Mack Alexander for this week's interview with our athletic director, Greg McGarity. Charlie Mack.
Greg, it has a real nice ring to it. Athletics director at the University of Georgia. Has it sunk in yet?
Charlie, it really hasn't, but I know it will quickly when things really start to get going up in our office. And once I occupy the office, which was done earlier this week, I'm sure it'll kick in. Reality will kick in, and the honeymoon will be over.
When kickoff comes today, a little afternoon, this is your team. It always has been, but this is different. You've been through a lot of kickoffs and a lot of games. This one's going to be special, though.
No question about it. I've not been in this atmosphere in 18 years, and it's something that I have so many fond memories of back as a little kid growing up, as far as going to high school here and college, and then being a part of the program through 88, really through 92, I'm sorry. And it was, it'll be really special. I'm looking forward to it. It ought to be great.
How does your wife feel?
She's so excited. She has, just in the short time she's been back up here, she's reconnected with all her pals and everything, and she's ecstatic.
What about this particular season and the Southeastern Conference?
Wow, I think you've got some really, really quality teams. I think someone made the comment at SEC Media Days that there's probably 8 schools, maybe 9 schools, that think they have a chance to win it all in the SEC. And I don't know how many conferences can make that statement, but that mentality just shows you that schools have made really commitments, hired great coaches to where they feel like they've got a chance to end up in Atlanta.
Who have you been more impressed by as an athletics director through your career to go ahead and do what you're about to do now?
Well, my mentor for the last 18 years has been Jeremy Foley, and he is just a phenomenal leader. He's a great friend. He just does things the right way. I think that at the end of the day, any decision that I make or our staff makes, you always want to make that decision with the thought process that if it appeared in the paper the next day, would I be happy with that? Mm-hmm. So I think if every employee we have uses that train of thought, I think then we'll certainly make great strides in that area.
It's obvious your heart and soul's here, your body's here, your family's here. Congratulations.
Thank you, Charlie Mack.
Our weekly visit with Georgia Athletics Director Greg McGarity is powered by Toyota. Moving forward. Up next, we'll revisit a great moment in Georgia football history. as Supercuts presents Munson's Great Calls. This is Georgia football from ISP.
We're live in Athens. Zaire, Loran, Hondo, and Scott Howard with a piece of unfortunate news. Scott?
Yes, some breaking news. Georgia's All-American wide receiver A.J. Green will miss today's game against Lafayette pursuant to UGA Athletic Association policy and pending a ruling from the NCAA clarifying his status. That word just given to us. So A.J. Green will not be on the field today for the Bulldogs.
All right, thank you, Scott Howard. With more details as we get them for you. Again, A.J. Green will not be on the field for the Bulldogs today. Right now, though, we're going to throw it down to the field. Somebody who is on the field is Lauren Smith with the head coach of the Raging Cajuns. Lauren.
Thank you, Neil. With us is Coach Ricky Bussell of the Raging Cajuns, Louisiana Lafayette. I learned to say Lafayette from visiting Lafayette, Coach. They just made the announcement on our broadcast that A.J. Green is not going to play. You know a little bit about him. You have something in common we'll get into in a moment. But are you able to change your game plan on short notice with this announcement?
No, I tell you what, you put too much into one guy, and all of a sudden them other guys get you, So, we don't. It doesn't give us any change, anything we're doing.
Coach, you are from Summerville, South Carolina. You and A.J. played for the same coach, John McKissick, who is still coaching. Are you going to coach till you're 85?
I don't think so. I don't have any plans on it, I promise you. But, Coach McKissick has just been phenomenal. I always go by and visit with him every summer, and we visit for hours. And, I don't know what he'd do if he wasn't coaching.
Did you learn anything from him that you incorporate in your coaching routine today?
Well, I think, Coach McKissick teaches all his football teams and players a lot about, doing the right things and being the right way and acting right and playing with a lot of pride and working hard and all those kind of things. And I think that's why he's had such successful players come out of that program.
You know a lot about Todd Grantham, Georgia's defensive coordinator. This is his first year coming here from the Dallas Cowboys. You actually coached him, or you were on the coaching staff. You were offense, and he was on defense at Virginia Tech.
Right. Todd played for us at Virginia Tech, and he was a GA for us. And I know Todd very well, and he's had a heck of a career. We're very close, and we stay in touch. I told you a minute ago I texted him this summer to try to find out what the heck he was going to do, and he wouldn't tell me, so I'm mad at him right now.
Well, that means you both are proteges of Frank Beamer, who is really an outstanding football coach, still coaching at Virginia Tech. Is your defense a reflection of what you learned under Frank Beamer?
No, not really. We first couple of years we were an 8-man front type of team like Virginia Tech ran, and we kind of got away from that, and I think they've gotten away from it a little bit. So, but I've had a couple of my coaches go up there and visit with them though.
Todd teaches the 3-4. It seems to be becoming more popular. How do you attack a 3-4 defense?
Well, everybody plays it a little bit differently, and that's the problem we have is that, I don't know how exactly Todd's going to play it. It changes your blocking schemes, changes your in a running game, changes your pass protection rules, and but everybody, that we've seen, and you're right, it's starting to kind of catch on. Everybody plays it a little bit differently, so it makes it, for us today, kind of keeps our offense a little bit simple and then hope just to make some good adjustments.
Most people in this part of the country, although the Internet sort of makes us all common news, but most people don't know quite as much about your team as they do some in our league, the SEC. Give us a little flavor of your football team. What kind of team are you bringing between the edges today?
Well, I think I'm bringing a team that I think that can compete in our conference. We've got some guys. I think our defense is going to be a defense, at least in our conference, that really can run. I'm really proud of what we've kind of recruited to right there offensively. We lost a few good players there up front last year. And, I have a little bit of concern about your offensive line holding up against these big old guys here today. quarterback, started all 12 games, and I think he'll have a good season. We got caught last year with a couple of injuries and didn't have really a running back. And we're coming here today with, I think, 3 or 4 running backs that can play for a lot of people, but they're all going to be young.
Thank you very much, Coach Bussell, for joining us. We go back out to Neil Williamson.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Coach Bussell sounds a little bit like Andy Landers, man. Hey, speaking of coaches, Mark Richt is standing by with Scott Howard. They will get to us in just a couple of minutes. Time now for Munson's Greatest Calls, presented by Supercuts. Call 1-800-SUPERCUTS or visit supercuts.com to find the location near you. Now, before any wise guy tells you that Georgia is loading up by not opening against the non-BCS school today, remind them that in the Mark Richt era, the Dogs have kicked off against Clemson twice, Oklahoma State twice, and Boise State once. No slouches there. Here's one of Larry's greatest calls from the season-opening victory over Boise State in 2005.
Boise State went way over to the sideline to huddle, which means they had to run, and now they got to run back. They got a sophomore center, but they got an outstanding junior quarterback in Jared Zabransky. Now, what are they going to do for the first play? Run a straight play? Throw it 9,000 yards? What are they going to do? Man shifting slowly, a motion to the left. They fake to the tail. Zabransky to the right. Threw a pass in the middle. We intercepted on the 36. Tony Taylor,
Georgia totaled 5 interceptions in the first half against the Broncos that sunny September afternoon in Athens. Scott Howard, what memories does that Munson call bring back to you?
Boy, I just remember the build-up for that game and such anticipation for the season opener. Boise State coming cross country to play the Bulldogs, in an SEC setting, and a lot of people had Georgia on their heels on that game against mighty Boise State and Jared Zabransky, and he was all world, and his first play, he got picked by Tony Taylor, and it was all downhill after that.
That was a lot of fun that day. I remember Senator Saxby Chambliss joined us here on the Tailgate Show, and he brought a couple of people from Idaho, a representative and a senator, and one of them kept going, "No, we're just little old Boise State. Oh, we'll just see how you guys, we'll never be able to live up to Georgia." And he was right. Yeah. I was dying to see him after the game. All right, before we go to break, Scott Howard, please, once again, the breaking news.
Yes, Georgia's junior wide receiver A.J. Green will miss today's game with Lafayette, the season opener here in Athens. And this is according to the University Athletic Department, pursuant to UGA Athletic Association policy and pending a ruling from the NCAA clarifying his status. So A.J. Green is out today.
Eric Dyer, what does that mean for Georgia's offense?
Of course it hurts. Anytime that you lose somebody like A.J. Green, it puts a damper on things. We've got a pretty deep and good receiving core that'll be able to step up and play. You don't plan around just one guy. You never do. One guy doesn't make or break a team. But anytime A.J. Green can't step on the field, you get hurt as an offense. No question about that.
All right, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Scott. Scott will be back with Coach Richt in just a few moments. We're broadcasting live from the Lowe's stage outside the west entrance to Sanford Stadium. If you've been here, they're right under the bridge where the dog walk is. The Redcoat band is playing. People are packed in on a glorious Saturday morning. Stay with us. The Dogs and Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, coming up. This is Georgia football from ISP.
It's time to take a look at today's opponent with Bulldogs head coach Mark Richt, brought to you by AirTran Airways, offering great low fares to over 60 cities. Georgia and the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette today. Coach, tell us a little bit about the Ragin' Cajuns, what you guys have seen on video, and what concerns you about them.
I think the first thing that jumped out at me was watching them play Kansas State last year. Somebody scheduled that game in Louisiana, and they ended up beating K-State there. And Kansas State is a team that played Texas A&M last year, who we played in the bowl, and beat the tar out of them. And, of course, that's also the A&M team that almost beat Texas, who played for the national championship. So you know that they have enough athletes to play with Texas A&M, then they have enough athletes to play with us. And a lot of times you're hoping that you outman somebody. But you know, they've got enough team speed to play with Georgia.
that your biggest concern, their speed?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean, the athletes that they have on their team can compete without question. They've got some outstanding skill at the tight end. They got a big 6'6" tight end who's a great receiver. They've got a kid named Marlon Miller, number 19, a receiver who actually played running back last year and moved back to receiver because they got an infusion of new running backs that they're really excited about. They plan on playing about 3 or 4 of those guys. They feel so good about them. So, and a quarterback who's now a second-year player who has had the opportunity to go through his growing pains last year. So they're ready now. Defensively, they've got a coordinator there who's going into his 4th season. All the coaches have been with him the entire time. They recruited these guys. They've coached these guys. And it's really mostly juniors and seniors on the defensive side of the ball. So they feel like this is their year on defense. So, you know, it's going to be a challenge. A team who's undefeated, who's jacked up and wanting to make a lot of noise on a national level against a top 25 team.
Is it helpful to prepare for your opponent when, as you mentioned, the coaching staff, everybody's intact, so you kind of know what they're doing? I mean, they're not doing anything new that you haven't seen.
Well, they might, but like you say, the staff is intact. Coach Bustle's been there, the head coach, for going into his 9th season now, and so offensively, that's kind of been his thing. And as I mentioned before, his defensive coordinator, you know, has been there for 4 years. So as we watch film, we have a pretty good comfort level of what we're going to get. Now, on the other hand, they're looking at us on defense. You know, they may be able to look at personnel just a little bit, but they're going to have no idea what we're going to do defensively. So that's an advantage for us.
And speaking of the personnel, are there some of the matchups that concern you a little bit? Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe some areas where they may be strong and you have some concerns?
The defense is very, very mature. They know what they're doing. They know how to do it. They're playing, you know, very fast because they're certain of what's going on, and they're a very physical bunch. So, you know, I think that's a concern period, that they're just outstanding defense that has confidence in each other. The coaches with the players and the players with the coaches, and like I said, it's a veteran group. You know, offensively, they did lose 3 offensive linemen. That could hurt them. You know, it's hard to replace offensive linemen, but they have 2 returning starters back, and they have plenty of skill to hurt you.
How about from a special team standpoint? It seems that any coach or player, for that matter, that's come through Virginia Tech always has that special teams thing hitched to their reputation, and certainly Coach Bustle has that.
Well, he does. They've blocked a ton of kicks, punts, and extra point field goals, and they'll come after us every time we punt. I would think they're going to come after us, and I'm sure they're always going to try to block an extra point or a field goal. Their extra point field goal man has made kicks of a couple kicks of, I think, 2 55-yarders last year and a 47-yarder, and I think another 52-yarder. He has made a bunch of long kicks, so he'll definitely be a weapon for him too.
Well, you talked about Kansas State. He had the game winner in the last 30 seconds against Kansas State, so he's kicked in pressure situations as well.
That's right, and you know, there's nothing like experience, which that's what we're going to be hoping Mr. Murray gets here in a hurry.
Indeed, and certainly Georgia has that. And coming up in just a little while, we'll have more with Coach Mark Richt as we get the inside skinny on the Bulldogs. Coach, we'll talk with you in just a little bit.
All right, looking forward to it.
We'll have more with Coach Richt coming up. Stay tuned. The Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show continues in 2 minutes. This is the Georgia Bulldog Radio Network from ISP. The Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show continues with this Bulldog Point of Pride. Presented by Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, and Technicians, Local Union 72. We believe in our people. For the 411 on the University of Georgia, here's Steve Bell.
Bulldog fans, your University of Georgia is now tied for 18th among public universities in U.S. News and World Report's latest edition of America's Best Colleges. UGA rose to 18th from 21st in last year's edition. The quality of UGA is because of the continuing hard work of faculty and staff, during these difficult economic times. And that's another Bulldog Point of Pride.
Feel the tradition. Soak in the history. And hear the passion. In today's Bulldog Flashback, once again, here's Neil Hondo Williamson.
Hey, great to have you along with us for our Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show. The team has made its way into the stadium for the season opener. Georgia Redcoat Marching Band. I bet you heard that one, huh? They are right out in front of us, about to march their way into the stadium as well. Time now for our flashback with Lauren Smith. Lauren?
Thank you, Neil. Our guest today is Ronnie Jenkins, who grew up in Glenville, now lives in Millen, Georgia. The dog walk, Ronnie, you didn't have that in your day when you were playing in the 60s, but what was it like getting off the buses with the railroad track people in full swing?
It was tremendous. You know, that was made your day when you come down those steps and all the students got up and got to holler, and it was just kind of reversed from what they do in here, but just as much fun.
Well, Ronnie, we gave you a choice of being our flashback guest today or Florida, where you had such a great game in 1966, and we'll flash back to that game in a moment, when Georgia won its first SEC championship under Coach Dooley. But you chose today because you knew you could bring all your family here. How many did you bring?
I got 17.
17 children and grandchildren.
Yeah.
And they're all having a good time. Tailgating?
Yeah.
Now, what's it like down in Millen? You took me by your house back in the spring and showed me your kitchen, which has a big counter in the kitchen where all the family gathers. What's a family gathering like?
It's
your home.
It's kind of hectic, but our oldest son, Kenton, he built that room and built it big enough where we could have all the kids and the grandkids in there, and just everybody have a good time, and you could see each one.
Well, Ronnie, you were a big power-running fullback. I remember against Florida in 1966, Coach John Donaldson, your backfield coach, for whom you named one of your sons, said that we're not even going to sign a blocker to that lightweight linebacker Florida has, because Ronnie just run over him. Running over people sort of became standard with you, but what was your philosophy of running the ball?
Well, never let the other guy hit you any harder than you hit him, and that's what Coach Donaldson stressed, and that's what I practiced.
Tommy Lawhorn was your roommate. He was valedictorian.
Yeah.
Did he ever take you to any classes where you could sort of look on his paper?
No. I couldn't even dream about being in the classes he was in, you know. I just done the best I could with what I had.
Well, you keep in touch with Tommy because mainly Tommy keeps in touch with all of his old teammates. He is probably the best best teammate you all have in terms of reaching out to former teammates. How often do you hear from Tommy?
I hear from him fairly regular, and Jack Davis also. There was two special people in my life when I was up here, and I keep in touch with both of them.
How about Billy Payne? Has he offered you any Masters tickets?
No, I'm scared to ask you.
What do you remember most about that big game against Florida in 1966? Florida was heavily favored. Steve Spurrier was the quarterback on the way to the Heisman the year later.
Yeah, the biggest thing I remember, they were leading us 10-3 at halftime, and when we went in the dressing room, there wasn't no doubt we'd beat them in the second half. They'd done started running out of gas, and we was just getting cranked up.
Through the years, how often have you been back to Athens? And what's it like when you come back to where you played college football?
It's changed so much, it's hard for me to comprehend. I'm lost when I get up here most of the time.
What's been the biggest change for you?
To me, it's just trying to get around. I don't know where I'm going.
Well, you sure knew where you were going on the football field.
Yeah.
But you were surrounded by some pretty good players. Bruce Young, Bill Stanfield, Jerry Varnado, Billy Payne, of course, Kent Lawrence, Bobby Etter, Happy Dix.
George Patton.
Yeah, tremendous football team because it was what you could do in those days. It was a team.
That's right. It was just wonderful.
All right, Neil.
Sorry, Lauren. I was just giving one of my old classmates myself a hard time. They had a little Reed Hall reunion, and a couple of them come up and said, "Oh, we forgot to invite you." "Oh, good, thanks." Ronnie, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks again for being
coming
here.
along. Ronnie Jenkins and Loran Smith. Hey, Bulldogs fans, GeorgiaDogs.com is your first and best source for Bulldogs news, scores, highlights, and interviews, and behind-the-scenes video. You can also buy authentic Dogs gear in the G-Shop or bid against other Bulldog fans in our exclusive online auctions. Visit GeorgiaDogs.com today. We'll have more from the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show in Athens. It's the Raging Cajuns and the Dogs.
Hi, Bulldogs. My name is Nikki Williamson from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a 7th grader at St. Jude the Apostle Catholic School. The Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show will continue after these messages. On the
7-letter word for sunny beaches now.
David Shumay back inside the ISP Network studios as we check the Charter on-demand scoreboard. Get the fastest internet speeds in the area with Charter's ultra-fast Ultra 60. Call 888-GET-CHARTER or go to charter.com/ultra for more information. Well, there will be one league game we'll be watching in our time window. That's the noon kick, number 4 Florida and Miami. Florida has won 20 straight season openers. We'll see if they make it 21 coming up at noon. But for now, let's continue the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show and take you back out to Neil Williamson.
All right, thank you, David. Submit your favorite tailgate photo, and you could win a $100 gift certificate to Publix and have your photo on the video board of a Georgia game. Just email your photo to ugaphotos@gmail.com. I'll repeat that, ugaphotos@gmail.com, or go to georgiadogs.com. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Eric Zier, you wanted to clear something up on the two-a-days.
Yeah, we had talked earlier about the reason that we moved away from two-a-days into the Georgia Bulldogs had 1 2-a-day set practice during the preseason camp here. And we talked about the reasons behind that. And what we failed to mention and probably need to add is that it's regulated on how many practices any team can have as you're moving through the training camp session before you get going into the season. You have 29 practices, and with the amount of implementation that we needed with a freshman quarterback and with a brand new defense, we could have had 2-a-days. We could have had 3 practices in a day, but you're limited to those 29 practices. So being able to spread it out, part of the reason, in addition to the other things that we talked about earlier on why we spread out the camp and didn't have as many 2-a-days as maybe we used to have.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for clearing that up. For those of you who have not heard the news, A.J. Green will not be playing today for the Bulldogs. We'll have more on that as we get more information. Thanks for staying with us. We have a long way to go. Eric will come back and talk about Georgia's offense. We'll have more of Loran Smith with Jeremy Foley, the athletic director of the University of Florida, and our AD's old boss. And DJ Jones joins us as well to help us with Georgia's defense today as we give you the whole game plan leading up to the Raging Cajuns and the Bulldogs. Kickoff at 12:21 between the hedges. This is Georgia football from ISP. Georgia drivers stand by for a zero-tolerance advisory of Georgia's DUI, texting, and pickup truck seatbelt laws. So drive sober, hang up, and buckle up in your truck this Labor Day. Let's throw it once again to our Loran Smith. Loran?
Our guest now is Jeremy Foley, the athletic director at the University of Florida, where they've enjoyed such great success in your time. Now, we remember Greg McGarity in his formative years here in Athens. He's an Athens boy. What kind of athletic director can Georgia expect Greg McGarity to be?
Well, Lauren, obviously, I think they can expect one of the best. I'm thrilled on a professional level to see Greg get the opportunity. I know how hard he's worked for it. I don't think anybody's more deserving of the opportunity. On a personal level, we're going to miss him like heck. He's a dear friend, one of my best friends, and he was my right-hand guy for 18 years. Came to the office last week for the first time in 18 years, and he wasn't at his desk. So, they're going to get a hard-working guy. They're going to get somebody so loyal. It's amazing what a loyal guy he is. Obviously, I think he's very good at what he does. I think he was a big part of our success here. He's a guy that'll make good decisions. He'll treat people right. Obviously, I think the world of Greg, and As I said, we're so happy for him. He'll be missed here for sure.
Well, his career sort of mirrored that of yours. You both started out at the bottom and worked your way to the top. Does that make for a better athletic director?
I don't know necessarily makes for a better athletic director, Lauren, but what it does is allow people like myself and Greg to have a total understanding of what others are doing. I think that's really important sitting in this chair. So, in my particular case, when the ticket office is, going crazy before the Georgia game, it's because I know it because I used to be in the ticket office. So, and Greg's the exact same way. He's done so many different things at Georgia and obviously so many different things here. I just think that'll make him a better leader because he'll understand what his people are dealing with. He'll understand what they're going through. He'll be able to give input when needed. He won't micromanage, but it just gives, I think, it gives him as well as myself just such a great total perspective of what goes on within the athletic department.
Well, now an athletic director has to make tough decisions. How will Greg handle the tough decision when it comes up?
Well, I got asked that question by several people before they hired Greg, and obviously Greg hasn't sat in the chair, but I know he was involved in every tough decision we made down here. He never once shied away from that. He never once, gave me advice that would take the easy way out. Like I told somebody, I'd be stunned if Greg McGarity can't make the tough decision because I think this is why. Because at the end of the day, he understands he's got a job to do what's best for the University of Georgia. That's the way he handled things down here. He did what was best for the University of Florida, and now he's the boss at Georgia. He will make decisions necessary to do what's best for Georgia. He loves Georgia. Obviously, it's in his blood. It's where he got his degree. And, he's not a guy who's going to sit around and not make the tough decision because if he doesn't make them, then that hurts Georgia. And I promise you, Greg McGarity will never, ever do anything to hurt Georgia. Will he make some decisions that don't work out? Join the club. We all do. But I promise you, every decision he makes, in his heart, he'll think it's the best for the University of Georgia. And therefore, he'll make any tough decision he has to. Unfortunately, when you're in the AD's chair, you got to say no sometimes. Sometimes more often than you can say yes. But I think sitting down with people and communicating that message face to face in an understanding and empathetic way is important. And I don't think there's anybody better than that than Greg. Greg doesn't hide behind memos. Greg is a big believer in communication, especially face to face. He's honest as the day is long, so he'll handle that no problem. I would say that's a strength of his ability to communicate.
He says that everybody should have a life away from work. Does an athletic director really have time to have a life away from the office?
Well, you got to make time. I told that to Greg. One thing that I've worked on here myself last several years is trying to have that life. Because if you're not careful, you'll be 24/7 and you'll get burned out, and nobody's benefits if the boss is burned out. So Greg's a big part of that down here. We've instituted some things at Florida to make sure people got away, to make sure people got recharged, and I had to make him go, but once he finally understood the benefit of it, he certainly participated willingly, and I think he'll do the same thing up there. He understands the big job he has. He understands the time demands, but I know how he likes to get away with his wife and his son Alex, and he'll do that because I think that balance is important to being the type of AD I know he wants to be.
Well, Jeremy, we thank you for joining us today on our broadcast, and we'll go back over now to Neil Williamson.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Thanks very much. DJ Jones is in the house. He's going to come and talk to us about Georgia defense. Eric Zier will talk to us about Georgia's offense. It's the Raging Cajuns and the Bulldogs today between the hedges, and we're so glad that you came along for the ride. It's a gorgeous day here in Athens, so whether you're here in the Peach State or listening somewhere on the Internet, we are delighted that you are with us. Hey, fans, stop by any of the 45 Golden Pantry food stores in Bulldog Country to pick up all your tailgate supplies, including delicious Oscar Mayer hot dogs. Trust your local Golden Pantry food store for value and service.
Hi, Bulldogs. My name is Elizabeth Elliott from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a junior at St. Pius High School, and the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show will continue after these messages, or the Georgia Bulldogs Radio Network from ISP.
What's your favorite Georgia player doing away from the game of football? Marathon Petroleum takes us off the field with the Bulldogs. Marathon, fueling the American spirit.
Number 16, Chris Durham, 6'5", 211 senior, graduate from Calhoun, Georgia. You have spent a lot of time with injuries. We'll get to that in a minute. Now you're healthy, but your academic career has been stellar. That takes a lot of discipline.
It's definitely something that my parents pushed at me when I was younger, and they said academics first. And so when I got here at the University of Georgia, if I didn't bring home over a 3.0, my parents were extremely disappointed in me. And so that's something that I strive for. And fortunately enough, I was able to finish my degree before my eligibility ran out.
Well, you've done a heck of a job, and now it's a time, hopefully, for an injury-free season because you could make a big difference.
It's definitely time for an injury-free season. Unfortunately, I've been hurt the past couple of years, and, it's part of the game. I'm definitely not disappointed because, it's a blessing in disguise that I was injured and I was able to come back for this season, and there's a reason for that.
Georgia, big wideouts. You're 6'5", Green 6'4", Brown is 6'5". Big wide receivers. Quarterbacks got to love that.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure Aaron has definitely looked across the roster and saw how extremely tall we are when we go up against 5'11", 6-foot corners. And I just feel like it's something that our offense can take and run with.
You're a veteran. You've been around a long time, seen a lot of things, seen a lot of quarterbacks. How has Aaron adjusted? And is he mature ahead of his years, possibly?
Aaron takes steps. It looks like a veteran. I mean, I played with guys like Matthew and Joe, and Aaron looks just as calm and collected under the center as they do. Aaron's out there making checks, changing the plays, different stuff that you only see with veterans, and I'm extremely proud, and I can't wait to see what he does.
All right, great to hear from Chris Durham and Charlie Mack-Alexander joining us here on the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show. Hey, the UGA Bookstore is the only place dog fans need to shop for all the latest Georgia apparel and gifts. Shop the UGA Bookstore before and after the game. The UGA Bookstore, open 7 days a week and 24/7 online at UGAbookstore.com. It's where the dogs shop. I'll tell you, the dogs are milling around here outside Sanford Stadium as we're getting ready for the season opener, UGA against the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette. And what does one of the greatest passers in NCAA history think about Georgia's chances with a redshirt freshman quarterback this year? Find out when we return in 2 minutes. This is Georgia football from ISP. Lauren Smith, Scott Howard, Charles Young's our engineer-producer. David Shoemate back in the Bulldogs studios. Eric Zier and Neil Hondo Williamson getting ready for Georgia football today at 12:21. Time now for some offensive chalk talk with Eric. Got nothing. Time now for some offensive chalk talk with EZ. Yeah, okay, fellas. Eric Zier, Aaron Murray. He's pretty much out there going to have to do the job today.
Yeah, he really is. It's his first time live here in Sanford Stadium. He's been dreaming about this time for his entire life, or his entire football playing career, and the time is upon him. Awfully talented young man with a lot of tools, a lot of athletic ability. It's his first go at it, so I'm sure there are going to be some nerves, but it'll be good to see him getting his feet wet and moving forward here, and to see what he can do. A lot of anticipation around how he's going to play today.
A lot of anticipation indeed. Limit mistakes, play smart, cliche. What else would you like to see out of Aaron Murray today?
Well, I tell you, I think that's a lot of it. He has to really stay within himself. He's got a lot of talent surrounding him. He's got some great receivers. Yeah, you saw at the end of last year what we can do running the football. He's got to allow his playmakers to make plays and not try to do it all himself. He's got a big-time arm. He can do it all by himself, but in part, he can take the game over, but that's going to happen in time. Today, he just needs to stay within himself, let his team go do their thing.
All right, Georgia's running back situation today. Washon Ely is unavailable, so Caleb King will handle the bulk of the load.
I think he'll be fine. He's had a tremendous camp. I mean, he's done a tremendous job of, running, making catches, blocking. He's done a great job of blocking, picking up blitzes and things like that. So I think he's excited. I think he's ready to go.
Aaron Murray on Caleb King. Z, with Washawn out, do we really want Caleb toting the mail 30 times with the South Carolina game just 1 week away and 3 straight noon kicks?
Yeah, you know what? I think later in the season maybe that would be of some concern, but when you're talking about guys on a college roster, they recover unbelievably well. If he has to carry it, it's the first game of the season, he's going to be fine. He's not going to get worn out just in one game. You want to try to limit carry some as you move through the year because of the toll it takes on your body, especially playing in the SEC. But we've got guys behind him that are going to be able to tote it today. But if he has to carry it 30 times a day, it's not going to affect him next week because we're so early in the year.
All right, Georgia's offensive line, you couldn't ask for much more with a virgin quarterback under center.
Boy, you really couldn't. And you take a look down the line. Clint Bowling, 36 starts. Cordy Glenn, 22 starts. Ben Jones has got 23 starts. Chris Davis has got 37 starts. An awful lot of experience with this line, and we talked about it last year. This should be the anchor of this offense. It should be the strength of the offense. That really didn't pan out until we got late in the year. We kind of found that blueprint where we can go pound the football, run the football, and take games over. Hopefully we can adopt that and start playing at that level very early on this year, starting with today's game. But, yeah, that helps when you're a quarterback, when you step behind a line that has that much experience and that much talent.
The announcement's been made that A.J. Green will not suit up for the Bulldogs today. He will not be able to play. We'll give you more details as we get them. Eric is going to have to step in and fill the void with A.J. unavailable.
I think 2 positions. We've got other receivers that are going to have to step up with Durham back and healthy finally. He's going to be a key factor in that. But I think the 2 positions that can really take heat off of A.J. Green this year are going to be a tight end and then getting our running backs involved in the passing game. Orson Charles is a great talent. We saw glimpses of what he could do last year. I think he's going to play a more prominent role in this offense, especially throwing the football to him, to take advantage of some soft spots that defenses are going to give us because we're going to see a lot of roll and a lot of bracket coverage over to A.J. when he's playing in the game. Our tight ends have to be able to exploit the middle. And then on top of that, on different levels, our running backs are going to have to really get involved in the throwing game. If they step up, they can take heat off of A.J.
All right, thank you, Mr. 11,153. That's how many passing yards Eric Zier accumulated during his record-setting career between the hedges. Don't touch that dial.
The defense looks good. It's a couple of times the defense just physically beat us.
That's Georgia tight end Orson Charles talking about the Bulldogs' 3-4 scheme in practice. We're minutes away from talking defense with 3-time SEC champion DJ Jones, plus kickoff at 12:21. Let's pause for station identification. This is Georgia football from ISP. .12:21 kickoff, Georgia versus Louisiana Lafayette. This is Georgia football from ISP. Welcome back to Athens, and welcome to the broadcast team. DJ Jones, my old buddy, is with us. DJ, great to have you with us this year.
Glad to be here.
All right, DJ Jones, defensive back for Georgia. Actually, a quarterback when he was a freshman. You're a quarterback in that national championship team.
That's right. That's right.
Yep, and then moved over to the corner and had 3 great years for the Bulldogs there. Nice career in the NFL. How you doing?
I'm wonderful, man. I tell you, it's a beautiful day here in Athens, and I'm just proud to be a part of this radio broadcast team.
Now, everybody in the Columbus area knows you because of all of your work down there. Tell folks what you're doing down there.
Well, I own a company along with another former Bulldog, Dale Williams, Sports Visions USA. We have a sports talk television show that airs on Fox all over East Alabama, West Central Georgia, and we do a lot of other camps, clinics, and fundraising events down there. So we're having a lot of fun, and we're giving a lot of credit and paying a lot of homage to coaches and young players.
Very good. Now, DJ's been in here eating, folks. He hasn't been working. He's been in here eating. He's been socializing. He's been shaking hands, schmoozing, so we're going to put him to work right now.
All right. Toyota is the #1 vehicle brand in America, according to the Motor Intelligence, that is intelligence.com. Come on down to your local Toyota dealer for deals that make you feel like a MVP. Toyota, moving forward.
Very good. Now, fellas, a couple of things here that I want to talk about is Georgia's 3 quarterbacks, 3 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. DJ, they've thrown a total of 12 passes. As a member of the secondary? Are you licking your chops over something like that?
Well, I think that with Aaron Murray, the redshirt freshman here, he's a kid that's been on campus through 2 springs. I mean, he's not the typical freshman. And I know Eric Zier can attest to that. But when you've been in this system, you've been on campus 2 springs and have had a football season underneath you, the only thing he hasn't done is play in the game. Now, that's a big deal. But with this kind of experience, with the talent that he has, with the smarts that he has, I feel real good that this young man is gonna be in a position to help this team win.
Eric, heaven forbid something happens to Aaron Murray. Hudson Mason, is he ready to go? I mean, he's a true freshman.
Well, Hudson has a lot of talent. He's been very impressive through camp, but is he ready to go today? It is very tough at any time when you were making the transition from high school ball, and he had a tremendous high school career, threw for well over 8,000 yards coming out of Lasser High School there in Marietta, Georgia, 54 touchdowns. So he's got some pedigree behind him, but hasn't been in this system very long. It's going to take a little bit of time just to get comfortable with the new terminology, get comfortable with your teammates. He has the talent to be ready. He wouldn't be ready today. He'd be thrown to the fire today, but he's got the talent to be a very good player for us long term.
All right, enough of this offense stuff. We're going to come back and talk some defense, okay, man? All right. You guys are ready. All right, DJ Jones, Eric Zier, Hondo at the Tailgate Show. Scott Howard's upstairs warming up those beautiful pipes of his as we get ready for the Raging Cajuns and the Bulldogs. Kickoff at 12:21. This is Georgia football from ISP. Red is the color of the day and offset beautifully by black and white and tan. Broadcasting from the beautiful Lowe's stage outside the west gate of Sanford Stadium. Chalk Talk with DJ Jones and Eric Zier. We're going to talk some defense. From the perspective of Georgia tight end Orson Charles, he's been lining up against a tough 3-4 in practice.
The defense looks good. It's a couple of times the defense just physically beat us. I mean, they got blitz coming from everywhere. You just don't know. And then blocking-wise, it's different from what we've been blocking a year ago.
There's Orson Charles. DJ, break down the 3-4 for all of the lay people fans out there. What are the advantages first?
Well, first and foremost, the 3-4 means there are 3 interior linemen and there are 4 linebackers. And those 3 guys up front, let's go ahead and put the disclaimer on it right now. Those 3 guys up front, and of course I'm talking about a group of them because they're going to take quite a few of the linemen, Brandon Wood, D'Angelo, Tyson, and the DeMarcus Dobbs, and their backup. These guys are the unsung heroes in the 3-4 defense. These guys are asked to run interference so those linebackers can become the stars and the playmakers. In a 3-4 defense, the front 3 guys are the guys that are asked to 2-gap. Your nose tackle, your nose guard in particular is asked to control 2 gaps. Your 2 defensive ends are asked to control 2 gaps, to tie up the offensive linemen so that the linebackers can run free and make plays. And with that said, they're able to cause havoc because they're able to bring in a 3-4 defense some unusual blitz packages and some unusual games up front that they are able to run, and you never know who's coming after the quarterback. So it's a havoc-causing problem for most opposing offenses.
Eric Zier can attest to that. Z, from a quarterback's perspective, where can we get burned by the 3-4?
Well, anytime you get aggressive from a defensive standpoint and you start bringing people, which we're going to do in a 3-4, we're going to bring people from a lot of different angles, a lot of spots that offenses aren't used to seeing. But the risk that you run is now you're one-on-one many times in the secondary, and you run the risk of the big play being had against you. If opposing offenses can determine who they need to pick up and be solid with their pass protection, pick up some of these blitzes, they're going to have shots downfield. So we're going to have to be really strong on the outside with coverage so we don't let anybody run free. But that's the big risk that you run anytime you get aggressive, whether you're in a 3-4 or traditional 4-3.
Sticking guys out on an island, no doubt. DJ, when you and I talked last week, you shared with me that you think that moving to this defense is a splendid fit for our existing personnel. No doubt that the players are enjoying it too.
Absolutely.
Guys are just having fun doing what they're doing. I mean, I can talk to Rambo and just talk to him about a little defense scheme, and he's just getting excited. And, I mean, that's something you want on your team because we're going to feed off the defense, and in some games the defense is going to feed off of us.
Yeah, there's Georgia tight end Orson Charles talking about how jacked up his defensive teammates are about the 3-4.
And they should be because they get an opportunity to make plays. Now, I know that for the past 4 or 5 years, the plays has been dismal on defense, but here's a defense that's aggressive. Here's a defense that's a striking defense. It's going to give these kids an opportunity to make plays. And of course, on defense, you know about the touchdowns and all the great plays on offense, but these guys actually become stars in front of these 93,000 fans. You know, as far as making sacks and causing turnovers, and that's what gets them excited about playing in this 3-4 defense.
Who's going to shine on this defense? DJ, you go first.
Well, like I said before, the linebackers are built to be the stars in this defense, but in particularly, I think Justin Houston is going to be the outstanding guy. He's going to be the poster boy for this defense, in my opinion.
Well, it is built for linebackers to shine. I actually think the surprise star is going to be strong safety Nick Williams. Strong safeties in a 3-4. Have to get up into the action quite a bit. He's going to be active. He's going to have to step up and play. I think he'll be the surprise.
All right, Eric Zier, DJ Jones. DJ sporting none of those rings. 1980 National Championship, 3 SEC, none of the rings.
What have he done for me lately?
Where are the rings?
No, I gave them to my dad, and I gave all 4 of them. I have an AFC Championship ring too from Denver.
Outstanding. That's right. Thanks so much for joining us, buddy, and we'll see you every week right
my
here
pleasure.
on the Tailgate Show. Okay.
And dog fans, join us every Sunday from 10 until noon live from Hilltop Grill as hosts Jeff Dantzler and Kevin Butler break down all the action from today's game.
Can you beat the pro? Choose more winners than the AJC's Jeff Schultz and win prizes. Go to Jeff's blog on AJC.com and sack Schultz. Right around the bend, Eric Zier returns and gives us today's game plan for Georgia and Louisiana Lafayette. We're live from Athens where we kick off at 12:21. This is Bulldog football from ISP.
The Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show continues with this Bulldog Point of Pride. Presented by Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, and Technicians, Local Union 72. We believe in our people. For the 411 on the University of Georgia, here's Steve Bell.
Hey, Bulldog fans. For the second consecutive year, a record number of UGA students, 11, have been awarded scholarships from the Fulbright U.S. Student Program. Recipients of the U.S. Student Full Grants, which cover research and study opportunities, include spring graduates Jeremy Aiken of Savannah, Virginia Newman of Decatur, and Abigail Zyla of Martinez, plus doctoral students April Conway of Conyers and Jennifer Olson of Ames, Iowa. And that's another Bulldog Point of Pride.
Pre-game radio coverage continues with today's game plan. Presented by Cotton States Insurance. See the Cotton States financial representative near you or visit cottonstatesinsurance.com. Chalk in hand, here's Neil Hondo Williamson.
I'm going to pass it over to the guy who actually knows what he's doing with the chalk. And that's Eric Zier. It's so great to have you along with us, folks. And Z, it's wonderful to be back out here for another season.
Yeah, it really is. I always look forward to this day in particular. It's almost like the start of a brand new year for all of us. And to get back after a long off season is so much fun. It's going to be even more fun here in a couple hours when we kick off.
And that field just looks spectacular, didn't it?
It really does. The entire setting is as good as it gets. We say it all the time. It's the most beautiful campus in the country. It really is. The field looks great. The hedges look perfect. It's great to see the stadium with all the redback seats that are in the stadium now. Just can't wait for the kickoff to take place.
Kenny Pauley has done the best job with the turf. John Casey, this represents 50 years of opinion, says the best the field has ever been.
How about that? Very nice. Thank you, Lauren. Lauren Smith, Eric Zier, and Hondo down tailgating with all of our friends here who are having a great time at the ISP tent. And let's jump into the cab next to Eric Zier and get a tour of today's game plan. Georgia versus Louisiana Lafayette. See, besides the obvious, what do you think Georgia's 3-4 defense has to accomplish to make the coaches happy today?
I think it's all about being able to adapt in game time speed and game time situations to the new schemes. No mental mistakes today. I think if we can accomplish that, no blown coverages, I think if we accomplish that, our coaches are going to come out and be pretty happy. On top of that, of course, you want to see Chris Mason, the Raging Cajun quarterback, on the ground. You want to tie up Ladarius Green, who is their tight end. It can be a very big threat. You have to do all of those things. But more than anything, let's play aggressive. Let's play with an attacking style, but no mental mistakes. I think if we get that piece of it done, our coaches are going to walk away and feel pretty good about where we are.
For lack of a better terminology or a safer terminology, Georgia defenders are going to have relatively new voices and personalities yelling at them today in the heat of battle. What's that like for a player?
You know, I'll tell you, it's a good question, and you would think that it wouldn't have that much of an effect, but until you get into the game and you actually see how you react in the heat of battle when things go wrong, not when they're going right.
Yeah.
You've heard you've heard coaches now since spring, so you're accustomed to their voice and how they're going to react, but you don't know how they're going to react in the heat of the battle in game-type situations. It's going to be interesting to see because it will take a bit of an adjustment on what is that person's personality, both player and coach, on how they react when it gets as tense as it can get.
Kind of weird after you're used to having one person yelling in your ear, I would think. Headphones during the game, you walk over, you put them on, somebody's talking to you up in the booth.
Yeah, it really is, and I think it even goes beyond that. I had that happen to me here at Georgia. Steve Ensminger was my quarterback coach. Greg Davis came in my senior year, and their personalities very different, both fantastic football coaches that I learned so much from. But even the way they saw the game and what they would relay to me on what they were seeing was a little bit different. So as a player, you have to adjust to it.
Eric, let's assume that Georgia will be able to open a healthy lead with by the early second half against the Raging Cajuns. Will the Bulldog coaches give Murray a little more rope? Or do you think it'll be more still along a scripted offense for him, a little more pitch count?
Yeah, I think it's going to be scripted for the most part. I do anticipate that we allow Aaron to open up a little bit just to get used to the game, a real game-type situations. Let him throw the football downfield a few times, but we're going to play it close to the vest. I don't think we'll get very far away from that script unless we need to.
All right, A.J. Green's not going to play today. For those of you who did not hear the announcement, A.J. will not play due to Georgia Athletic Association policy, and we'll have more information for you when we know more about that. No wash on Ely. We've talked about Caleb King. What we haven't talked about is, who after Caleb?
Well, you've got Carlton Thomas, who showed some very good spurts. He looked great in the spring game. So we're very, very solid at running back. Caleb, I really think is going to have a breakout year, a very good year. But Carlton Thomas, every time he touches the football, he can do some pretty exciting things.
All right, thank you, Z. Eric Zier joining us here at the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show. We're under the Lowe's tent, and we're getting ready for the Dogs and the Raging Cajuns. Stick around. Coach Mark Richt will join Scott Howard. Following these words, this is Georgia football from ISP.
We're inside an hour till kickoff on the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show. David Shoemate with you from the ISP Network studios. Let's check the Charter on-demand scoreboard. Get the fastest internet speeds in the area with Charter's ultra-fast Ultra 60. Call 888-GET-CHARTER or go to charter.com/ultra for more information. Some of the key games we'll be watching today: 8 o'clock kick in Atlanta, number 21 LSU and number 18 UNC. LSU is 7-1 in the Georgia Dome and 5-1 against the Tar Heels, but the two haven't met since 1986 when the Tigers won 30-3 in Baton Rouge. Alabama opens up their title defense, ranked number 1 in the country. They'll get San Jose State at 7 o'clock tonight. At noon, they'll kick it off in Gainesville in about half an hour. Number 4 Florida and Miami of Ohio. Florida does have Jeff Demps back, as he was formidable in the backfield last year. For the last 2 years, he picked up 1,350 yards and 14 touchdowns, but they have a lot to replace, including Tim Tebow, who went to the Broncos. At 7 o'clock, number 17, Arkansas and Tennessee Tech. Also at 7, it's Auburn and Arkansas State from down on the plains. Auburn is 14-0 all-time against the Sun Belt, while Arkansas State is 146-3 all-time against the SEC. Other league games today: Kentucky is at Louisville at 3:30. At 7 o'clock, it's Mississippi State and Memphis from Starkville. A 7:30 start from Vanderbilt Stadium as the Commodores welcome Northwestern to Nashville. A 6 o'clock kick in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Tennessee Martin. And Ole Miss and Jacksonville State will get underway at 3:30 in Oxford. Let's continue with the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show and take you back out to Neil Williamson.
All right, thank you, David. Very breezy today, Lauren Smith. Lovely. If we were playing volleyball, beach volleyball, the ball would be flying all over the place with this breeze.
The volleyball team did pretty well.
The indoor volleyball team. What a coincidence. Go ahead, Lauren.
Greeley, Colorado. They had a 3-1 victory over Missouri, Kansas City, and then swept Fairfield on Friday. And then down 2-0, the Georgia soccer team came back for a 3-2 double overtime win Friday in Macon against Mercer.
All right, very good.
The wind's still blowing out in Greeley, Colorado.
The wind is still blowing out there. Hey, Brad, how you doing? All right, very good. Eric Zier's back with us. So is Lauren Smith, and Scott Howard's up top in the press box. Scott, I'm going to ask you first. please give us the official word on A.J. Green again today.
Well, A.J. is out. He'll miss today's game pursuant to the UGA Athletic Association policy and pending a ruling from the NCAA clarifying his status. So basically what I take that to mean is that the NCAA hasn't gotten with Georgia yet to let him know whether or not he's cleared to play. So, just as a precaution, he's not going to play. And that seems to be what the situation is. So that means that Georgia will be without their leading receiver and their leading rusher from last year for today's game.
Boy, that seems a little kooky to me, man, that, we have to sit a guy out because we might get penalized if he plays. Certainly, after 100 years of doing this stuff, the NCAA could probably find a better way to handle something like this, no?
I would agree. I can't believe, really, that we're having to go through this right now where we just don't know what the answer is. Come on, everybody knew that we have a game today, and, for them not to be able to get back with an answer and for us to have to take this precaution is a bit mind-scratching.
Okay, well, we won't bash the NCAA any longer because, we all want to keep our jobs here on the Tailgate Show. But I'll go back to you for some football talk, Scott. What true freshman might we see contribute in some of these early games?
Well, I think, there's always the chance that Hudson Mason could play, the quarterback from Marietta. Michael Bennett might be able to get some snaps in the rotation at one of the end positions, one of the wide receivers, a freshman from Alpharetta. And really, that's probably about it on offense. I mean, the offense is pretty solid with returning veterans, and it might take a lot for a true freshman to crack the lineup. On defense, I would say Alec Ogletree, he's not available today, but hopefully he's available next week. He might get some snaps from the line of scrimmage. A lot of these guys, if they play, they're going to be on special teams, and I guess you'd have to mention Jakar Hamilton as well. He's not a true freshman, but this is his first year at Georgia as a transfer from GMC. So those are probably the fresh faces that you might see.
Scott brought up special teams, so we'll ask Lauren Smith about special teams. Last year we were 117th in the nation in kickoff coverage. Not much better in punt return yardage defense. Lauren, what's been done to address these deficient areas?
Well, you got new coaches and I think a new philosophy. The first thing is they're going to play as many freshmen, as many younger players as they can on special teams to give them some experience. And I think the approach is going to be that everybody who's out there who's able-bodied is going to play on the special teams. You have to be careful. You naturally won't put your skilled people in places where you feel like they might get hurt, but they're going to use everybody they got everywhere they can, because I think this is a game they might learn that it's not a bad idea to punt, play defense, punt, not just because of the caliber of opponent, but anytime you can utilize defense and kicking, you got a chance to stay in ball game.
There's no question about that. From an offensive guy, though, I do like when we add to that mix, let's air it out a little bit and be aggressive on that side of the ball. But you're exactly right. You win football games when you play great defense, and you win football games when you're solid in the kicking game. Last year, we were as solid as anybody in the country in our kicking game, outside of maybe our kickoff coverage. But I think we'll get those things shored up. But we've got a couple of guys kicking the football that are just fantastic players. Defensively, if we can step up, we'll be in every football game. You add on top of that, if we could run the ball like we did against Georgia Tech, we could have a lot of good things in store, but there's still a lot of question marks out there before I think anybody's going to go down that path yet.
Scott Howard, Georgia's offensive line. How much can we expect to see out of Trenton Sturdivant today?
Probably a limited role. I don't think they want to, stick him out there for an entire half or anything like that. Maybe in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 snaps, perhaps, or I'm not really sure if they've got Sturdivant on a pitch count or not, but he's going to rotate in a little bit. He will play, but I think they're going to try to work him back in. I mean, he's coming off, back-to-back years of blowing out his knee, so they want to take it easy with him as much as they can.
All right, we'll get the inside skinny from Coach Rick with Scott Howard in just a few moments.
Remember to stock up on plenty of Texas Pete sauces for your next tailgate, because nothing wakes up food like Texas Pete.
And hey, dog fans, GeorgiaDogs.com is your first and best source for Bulldog news, scores, highlights, interviews, and behind-the-scenes video. You can also buy authentic dog gear in the G-Shop or bid against other Bulldog fans in our exclusive online auctions. Visit GeorgiaDogs.com today. And stay with us because Scott Howard and Coach Rick are right around the corner. This is Georgia football from ISP.
Back with Bulldogs head coach Mark Richt and the Inside Skinny. It's brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Call Geico at 800-947-AUTO or visit geico.com. We're just moments away from kickoff for Georgia and Louisiana Lafayette. Coach, as you get ready to run out of the locker room and onto the field in front of 92,000 plus on opening day, what's your feeling?
My feeling is we're ready to go. It's been a long time. It's been a long 5 weeks in preparation. The 2010 team is out there ready to go, and I'm very confident that our boys are going to get after it.
You had 5 weeks of pretty severe heat out there on the practice field. How do you feel like your guys handled that?
Well, they handled it well, and you know, they really spent the whole summer in the heat. It was probably the hottest. I think someone said it was the hottest summer on record in Athens, and our strength staff did a superb job of getting them in shape. By the time they came to camp, it was hot, it was hard, it was difficult, but I think one guy on the entire team had to have an IV, and very few guys cramped up. Very little injuries as far as pulled muscles, things of that nature, and that's usually a sign of a team that maybe is not ready for camp, but we had very little of those, and as a matter of fact, other than Chris Burnett and Richard Samuel, every single guy that is eligible to play is healthy to play, and that's very, very good.
How difficult was it to structure this team with all the starters you had returning on offense? My guess would be it wasn't very difficult on offense other than finding the support personnel. But on defense, you basically have to almost start from scratch.
Well, we really did. We just kind of blew up what we were doing and started over, and now we're in this 3-4 scheme, and so a lot of the guys weren't even sure what positions they were going to play. And our coaches weren't 100% sure. We started out in the spring and made a few adjustments. For example, Darrell Gamble, started out as an inside linebacker. Then we moved into outside linebacker, and then by the time camp was over, he ends up starting at Sam linebacker. So we made a few of those changes along the way. But, the main thing about defense is, are you playing fast? Are you tackling well? Are you playing discipline? And, and so no matter what scheme you have, you've got to be able to do that, and that's what I'm hoping for in this one.
What do you tell Aaron today? Certainly he's going to have some butterflies with his college debut. What do you tell him if you take him aside? What do you say to him?
Well, the main thing is just focus on your job. Focus on your assignment. Focus on calling the play properly. Focus on, getting us in the right play at the line of scrimmage. Don't focus on, I hope I do good. Don't focus on, oh my gosh, there's 90,000 people out there. I'm on national TV. I wonder what my mom thinks. Don't think about all those things. You think about your job, and that'll be fine.
Tell us about the running game today. Caleb King, Carlton Thomas. You've mentioned Fred Munzenmeyer. We'll see some action. Will those be the three guys that we see touching the ball for the most?
Yeah, from the tailback position, as you said, Caleb, he'll get more carries than he would have had if Ely was playing. Carlton certainly is going to get an opportunity to get in there and help out, and then don't be surprised to see Fred Munzenmeyer playing the tailback position. He's been working at it all camp long. It wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction to what happened with Washawn. He's actually been working the entire camp there. We're trying to redshirt Kenny Malcolm if possible, and Fred is a skilled runner, and he can also he has good hands. He's a good pass protector too. Sean Chappis may carry the ball once or twice, so we're going to use all of our backs.
Give us one player on offense and one on defense that maybe the public doesn't know, but you know that they're going to shine this season.
Well, that's hard to say for sure, but defensively, one of the young men that really rose was Christian Robinson. He went from a backup to a starting linebacker. He's one of our starting middle linebackers right next to Akeem Dent, and I think he needs to be commended for the job that he's done in his preparation. And then, I'm not exactly sure how much Sean Williams will play scrimmage downs. He'll definitely play some special teams, but that young man has really come on strong for us. I like how Jakar Hamilton looks, and he actually earned himself a starting spot at the strong safety opposite of Bakari Rambo. Then on offense, Durham's back. It's good to see Chris Durham and see him practice the way he has and prepare the way he has. Marlon Brown has had a really fine camp, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him do well. And then everybody knows he made a position change, but I don't know if everybody knows how far he's come as a receiver. That's Logan Gray. I think Logan has really done a beautiful job of becoming a receiver, and I think he'll make some plays for us.
Mark, good luck against Lafayette. Enjoy opening day. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. Dog walk was a blast.
That's Coach Mark Richt with the Inside Skinny. Let's go back to Neil.
All right, thank you, Scott. Great to be out here at the Tailgate Show, and Eric Zier has moved upstairs now. Scott will rejoin him for the play-by-play and kickoff coming up at 12:21. Congratulations to Coach Rick and to our academic support team in the athletic department. Georgia's football team's academic progress rate was tops in the nation for top 25 programs. 93 Georgia football players have graduated since the summer of 2006. 82% of the class of 2005 is projected to graduate. I shouldn't say tops in the nation, but in the SEC, Georgia ranked number 2 behind Vanderbilt in the SEC. Congratulations to the academic support team, and I know I messed up a whole lot of those numbers, but we did real good, folks. How's that? We did very, very well. We told you earlier how much we're enjoying some barbecue from Harry's Big Shop. Now you can have the best barbecue Athens has to offer. Just call ahead. They'll have your package available for pickup on the drive into town from Highway 129. More to come from the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show. Georgia, Louisiana, Lafayette, today at 12:20. This is Georgia football from ISP. Sparkling day here in Athens with the hustle and bustle of people making their way into Sanford Stadium. So glad that you're with us, and wish you that you were here with us in Athens if you're not listening here in Athens. But glad that you're going to tune in for Scott Howard and Eric Zier with the play-by-play and analysis in just a few minutes. Back at the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show, we'd like to remind you that we're always enjoying our Gordo's authentic Mexican restaurant-style cheese dip here, available at your local retailer. I'd like to thank Jared Kirshner from AirTran. Stopped by and said hello today. Great to see Jared here. And also Gene O'Kelly, another longtime Bulldog radio sponsor. Great to see Gene O'Kelly here with us as well. Thanks to our engineer, Charles Youngs. He's doing the yeoman's work here in Athens. David Shoemate, our producer in the Bulldog studios. Charlie Mack Alexander, contributor today. And DJ Jones, newcomer to our broadcast as well. For Scott Howard, Lauren Smith, and Eric Zier, this is Neil Hondo Williamson. The BB&T countdown to kickoff is next. Then it's time to tee up the 2010 football season. Louisiana Lafayette at Georgia. You've been listening to the Verizon Wireless Tailgate Show. Verizon Wireless, proud sponsor of the Georgia Bulldog Radio Network from ISP.